Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm back by popular demand. What's going on? And that popular demand is spiritual demand. I am here with a late night part 2 to this situation here. Spirit just has not been allowing me to kind of rest. So I've been getting called to a part 2 to see if there's more information yet to be known. So I'm just going to go through and maybe try to clarify some different things, some cards. But first and foremost, if you did not watch part 1, which is titled Whoop Whoop, How to Not Get Away with Murder, Psycho Pyramid Scheme is Spiritual Suicide. That's the part 1 of this message. This is ultimately where we left off. I'm not really going to go back in and hash it all out because it'll probably get hashed out as I'm clarifying, knowing me. So I'll save my breath on that one. But this was what was left on the bottom of the deck, which is ultimately this pyramid scheme and this plot to manipulate and monopolize off of life forces, and I'll talk about that in a second, particularly feminine energies, but not exclusive to them, as I definitely felt in the spirit after the reading, but primarily feminine energies being manipulated and energy harvested, maybe even actually physically harvested, not just for their energetic and spiritual essence, but also their bodies being harvested in some sacrificial way to fuel some, ultimately, I was expressing it as a pyramid scheme, but it seems like some type of dark underground secret society of men primarily that look to, that just look to capitalize on feminine energy in some very diabolical way. And the primary warlock had, disseminated this blueprint of sorts as a way to, I'm getting invade the feminine energy by way of mental and emotional and psychological manipulation. Later, I got even mind reading or mind, like, what do you call it? Like projection. There it is, mind projection, like projecting certain illusions and untruths, and it's done in a practical way and in a very spiritual way. The spiritual essence of it is very exclusive to certain energies that, not everybody has that gift to be able to mind project or even astral project is what I'm hearing now, or to make certain emotional or mental or psychological impressions. Not everyone knows how to do that, but there is one particular energy that does know very well. He has a special brand of magic that he knows how to impress upon feminines in particular, because they're more vulnerable to the essence of love, and more volatile to be manipulated by their emotional essence, that moon energy that can be, you can make a woman unstable emotionally about herself, and, you can pretty much disintegrate her defenses in a spiritual sense, and you can impose any truth, any illusion, any delusion that you want her to believe or to submit to, in order for the purposes of possessing that energy for self. Now, the possession itself, I'm not sure how what that actually happened. Maybe that it'll come out. So maybe I should just get going. But the possession is, from what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling in this moment, is not just material, but it definitely it ends up being material. The way I'm feeling it and seeing it is that, you know, when you can depress a woman psychologically and emotionally, then you can pretty much, like I said, like infuse your own, you can possess that soul, you can possess that spirit. You can kind of manipulate the energy to make her do whatever you want her to do ultimately. And what does that do with that impression then? Filtrates down, God forbid, if she has children, or just in general into everything that she creates. So her entire world is infected by that diabolical seed. You know, like say you have a cup of water and you drop a cup of, you add a drop of blood, you know, it's tainted, you know what I mean? So just one drop of some foreign substance into something that is pure taints the entire thing. So if you can make her feel unworthy and worthless, not only will she accept anything that you're given, she'll then she will have then lowered, you will have then lowered her vibration, or she will have allowed you to lower her vibration to then be only perpetuate a certain force of attraction or vibration of attraction, so that there's that toxicity. There it is, toxicity. Why I'm saying that taintedness in the cup. She begins to be toxic, and therefore begins to attract toxicity. And so then individuals that want to come and present themselves as even some knight in shining armor, all in chinked armor as it is, you know, not shining and not honorable at all, but they can present themselves in a certain way and gain access because they have the appearance of safety and security based on how the defenses have, defenses have already been dismantled or diminished, you know. So there's a more vulnerable access point to that feminine energy when she's been pretty much depleted to nothing, you know what I mean? Like been diminished spiritually and energetically. And then once that energy, that which really is of no good, does get in there, the damage can be further impressed, because not only have you found yourself mishandled again by someone that you trusted and that presented themselves to be valuable and harmless and even protective in a sense, then you begin to now perpetuate that abuse onto yourself, because you don't feel like you can even trust anyone. If you couldn't trust the knight in shining armor to protect you, who can you trust? And then you feel like you can't trust yourself, because if you didn't see the knight in shining armor coming for who they were, then what's wrong with you? And then that just, you know, digs that feminine energy in yet a deeper ditch of despair and depression, and, you know, just completely depleting the energy for all it's worth. All the while, these mother effers, you know, in this so-called coven are having literally a dick measuring contest of see whose is the biggest, who's the most powerful, who can manipulate the deepest, who can penetrate these spirits and these souls the deepest, who can leave the deepest wound. You know what I mean? Like I'm hearing like it was one after another, like running a train on feminine energies unbeknownst to them. You know, there could have been energies that maybe even in your life that came, that were connected, you know, in some way, shape, or form, you know, that had a connection energetically by way of these, I call them lieutenants and leaders of this operation on the ground and in the field. Like these are the foot soldiers and the corner boys. These are the lieutenants up here, particularly this couple that was identified, which presents himself to be an upright, honorable king of swords, queen of swords, but in actuality is dishonorable. And then this queen of swords here, they present themselves to be this upright, successful, intelligent power couple of sorts that, has opportunities for the advancement of people in some, exclusive way. But in actuality, they end up betraying each other and betraying themselves, betraying each other, ultimately being betrayed by the soldiers and the subsidiaries that they colluded with, because these individuals are just out for self, these energies. And when I really thought about it, it's like more masculine energies. That's why, which is represented in the card more or less. Like, it could be feminine and masculine for sure, but I see a lot of masculine energy, like I said, fighting over this ultimate power, like to say, yeah, I got the wand, I got the magic stick, ultimately, when none of them actually do. They're all knights, which pale in comparison to a king, and really don't even amount to an emperor status, which is what everybody wanted to be, the top dog, the top of the pyramid. But in actuality, as you can see in this flow, the top of the pyramid is actually on the bottom. He's the lowest man on the totem pole, especially now more than ever, because his master plan is what ultimately fueled all of this nonsense. Whatever his brand of manipulation is what he sold. Well, first of all, what he used to manipulate these two, and what he sold as some, as some diabolical scheme to manifest from. Let me see what was, let's see, what are we asking? Because I'm just flowing, it's just coming out again, but I really want to use the cards to speak. What was, let me just go, and that was a sun card, which is exposure. What was this? I don't even know what to ask. I don't. Let me just let the cards speak, and y'all just gonna have to trust me on this one and see how it flows. It may get messy. It might not be as clean as the board looks now, but let's see what happens. Okay. Spirit, let's give us some answers of clarity about if it be, if it's called for at this time, because I feel like I definitely am opening a bit of a can of worms, because what I'm hearing, it gets deeper, but I feel like if I just keep talking, I'm just going like go on and on and on, and I want to be a little bit more focused in what the spirit really wants to uncover. Because the reason why I couldn't really let it go is because things kept coming to me, like it was like this and that and this and that, you know what I mean? It was like crazy how much things were downloading to me, even about this judgment card. I was seeing that in my mind's eye as like people that actually either have passed on or were plotted on to be eliminated in one way, shape, or form. This is about confusion and illusion, and that was ultimately, I think, what this energy was doing here. Like, this one here is like the kingpin. He's the mastermind. He's the warlock. That, and also what I sensed is that it's very intimate and personal. Like, you could relate to this story perhaps in real time, but it also has a universal essence. So it's not even just like this emperor who could be a boss or a father figure or just some mature man in a position of power is necessarily just one man. It could also be the representation of society and what the underbelly of society has pretty much plotted and planned on the masses, like how the society has really worked to perpetuate this cycle of toxicity, so that it could maintain this power and possession of authority, particularly of the feminine energy. And when you think about society and how that projects just practically day to day, women are always being told, in every way, shape, and form, by media, by government, that, society, culturally, you know, in every way, shape, and form. Honestly, we get the message that we're not enough, and that we're always subservient to the masculine energy and submissive to the masculine energy and second to the masculine energy, and that in order for us to pretty much like make ourselves enough, for lack of a better term, we're always being presented and projected with these things that we need or that we're lacking: beauty, you know, health, with how the judicial system is even you know, monopolizing the woman's body and her health rights and things of that sort. What you should look like versus, you know, and the medical industry even aiding that agenda with the influx of plastic surgery and, you know, all those different types of surgeries that ultimately put us in danger and at risk, but, you know, it's perpetuated and promoted to us as propaganda for our perfection in order to what? Get a man or be desirable or be beautiful, or ultimately to be accepted and valued in society, when our value as creative beings alone is priceless, you know. But we've been projected all types of propaganda against that reality and against that truth that would keep us mixed up in our own minds about who we are and what we have to offer and ultimately what we deserve, you know. So that's the agenda here of this energy in a general sense and in a universal sense, and even in a personal sense, like different masculines in your energy in a diabolical sense. And I would like to say that not even necessarily all diabolical, because in some ways I think that this is the issue, that this is what it's been. So even certain masculines in your life that don't even necessarily mean to do harm or be harmful have been infected. It's like that cup again with the drop of blood. They've been infected with this ideal of masculinity and misogyny and things of that sort that has tainted this cup with the King of Cups here, even in the loving energy, because really generally the King of Cups is one of the most loving and emotional kings in the deck. He's connected to his emotional self and his emotional intelligence. But because of how society has perpetuated this this norm of imbalance from, yes, a very diabolical origin, but even with the best intentions, it's like that undertone still persists, you know. So even if you had a dad that was, you know, not too bad, you know what I mean, it was okay for the most part, there's still this undertone that can almost be undetectable in a sense, just by way of the system that bred him in the first place, you know what I mean? So it's like, even it may not even be recognizable unto him or them, whomever the masculine energies are in your life, or you being the masculine energy. It may not even be recognizable to you how you yourself have perpetuated this toxicity and projected it onto the feminine energies in your life, or just continue to breed in that vein. But it very much so has been it. You know what I mean? Like the masculine energy is the seed that is planted. We, being the feminines, are the soil, you know, and we can thankfully shape and transmute energy just about in any way, shape, or form that we have the will to do so, but not without a great feat to do so, given what we're working with, you know. And that's how this diabolical seed continues to get produced, which is why the universe is calling judgment now, because if it doesn't stop somewhere, we'll all self-destruct, you know, ultimately. And that's, you know, that's the vibe that we're damn near on now, that we're about to kill each other spiritually, physically, mentally, energetically, because we're not in alignment the way that it's been universally ordained to be so, you know. And there are some that have definitely been perpetuating it. Yeah, greed on account of lust for this ultimate Ace of Cups, but not for the Ace of Cups. I was going to say that there are some that have been perpetuating it for the sake of, you know, some demonic force or with demonic intentions or for self-serving sensations, you know, to be possessive of the feminine energy, to make the feminine energy submissive for self-satisfying and gratifying purposes, and also for the sake of the power over that commodity. You know, if you can control the commodity of a feminine force, you know, I mean, you got creativity at your fingertips, an endless wealth of creativity, and you can make it do whatever you want it to do. When you need you know, somebody to stroke your ego, just in the most primitive and practical sense. If you need a confidence boost, you can snuggle up to her to stroke your ego and make you feel like, you know, to give you that security that you might not find in the world otherwise. When you actually want to physically get some shit done, I mean, literally, we make babies, you know what I mean? So there's your legacy. When you want someone to help you, you know, see beyond the practical veil that many men are kind of blinded by in some ways. You know, women see things from a more expansive perspective in a spiritual sense. It's just how we're made up. But we're made up to be a complement to one another, not to be a commodity that's been, you know, extorted, you know, and exploited. You know, it's supposed to be a balance of energy so that we are both in power as we are both in our truth. So, yeah, so we got a monopolization over this wealth, this overflow, like I was saying, this overflowing energy. And this also does signify baby energy, which is the legacy that I was talking about. But to keep it mixed up, it's like so imbalanced that, you know, ultimately, look, here he is. This is the 7 of Cups. This is the 9. Him overindulging in these cups, not just having one and controlling one, but controlling many, and all for the purposes of monopolizing and possessing the ultimate force of power, which doesn't even really, like the wand, doesn't really belong to him. It's not truly in his possession, which is why it takes the pursuit of 9 cups to be satisfied and still not be satisfied, because it's not the 10. Because when you're in pursuit after something for diabolical and demonic reasons, it's withheld from you from its most exalted state. You can't reach it from these lows. You have to get into your higher nature in order to get on God's level, pretty much, to align yourself with the vibration of the divine, so that this energy can pour into you, and then you don't have to. And whether that means you find the divine woman that's going to be your match and your partner, or that you begin to nurture and embody the feminine force that is present within you, if you allow it to work purely and be whole and complete within yourself. No, it's immature to be thinking that your wand is the cure for all, you know, that your sex is so good, or, you know, because that's ultimately what this energy was. It was like using sex as a weapon, is what I hear. And Lord knows, we as feminines know we can be slayed by the D, and it'll be lights out. And for what? Ultimately, the purposes of, again, extracting our and diminishing our value, so that we can't even see it ourselves, you know? So let's see what's up with this couple up here. That was a devil card peeking out. What's up with this couple? What's their energy about? Because I get a feel for what the warlock, what vibes he's on. He obviously, you know, he's fueled by the power of, you know, the possession of all of this power being under his might, because obviously there's some, ultimately this is him in a child state. This Page of Wands never quite was able to see the value of himself, probably from a child's position, a child stage, maybe even being abused himself at some point in time. But this is him not being able to, being somehow disconnected from his childlike nature. And, you know, I feel like I'm hearing like he robbed of his childhood in some way, shape, or form. Like maybe on the surface, you know, the childhood was decent, but there was some disconnect here where he wasn't quite able to be himself, express his true nature, express his true creativity. It was stifled in some way, and because he felt stifled, it grew into, yeah, see, it grew into like an obsession with obtaining power over others, because for some reason he never felt like he ever really possessed power and appreciation over himself, who he was in his raw form, his creativity. Maybe it was imposed upon. Here's a betrayal card and here's a protecting your energy card. So maybe he was violated, you know, that, which is definitely a gateway to, at the bare minimum, narcissistic behavior. And at the worst of it all, you know, what do they call it? Not a psychopath, but what is it called? Not psychopath. I mean, well, goddamn, I keep saying it. Maybe that is it, you know, to psychopathic behavior, but that's not what I'm trying to say. It's something else, and another word, it'll probably come to me. But that's pretty much his vibe, that he's been stuck in a child's place for his entire existence, trying to prove himself to himself that he matters and he's creative too, and he's gifted too, because maybe somewhere in his through his growing pains, he didn't feel that his true authentic self was valued and appreciated. Maybe it was rejected in some way, so he decided to figure out some secret way to now not only possess others' true value from child stage, you know, or from a lack of an immature space of development, even if they weren't children, but to find some way to monopolize, on the insecurities of others, and on that, you know, on that that space within us all, that void within us all that feels rejected or dejected, you know, or unworthy. You know, he can connect to that place because he knows that place very well psychologically, and he can sense it in others and knows exactly like how to feed it energetically and how to extract from it. And it would have been fine just in the space that well, it wasn't fine, and it still isn't fine, but the issue is he got greedy and decided to take the show on the road and initiate others into the force of his plan, when it was just him, you know, was satisfying and gratifying alone to be kind of pulling the strings and puppeteering, particularly women in his life, but also men, and especially kids, you know, to be able to puppeteer the energies of others in his life, you know, in some way, shape, or form, using, I'm seeing like, intimidation in some ways, and, you know, a really like nasty mix of love and hate. You know what I mean? Like this cup, like this seven of cups. It was like, it's all types of shit in these cups. You know what I mean? It's like not, it's not you can't really tell what it is, quite honestly. And a lot of them, that some kind of look good, but then some kind of look bad for sure. And then you're kind of unsure about others. It's like keeping people in this imbalanced state of emotions, not and always on their toes and always guessing, like, is this okay? Is this not okay? And more so guessing internally than anything, because there was also this like extraction of pleasure from the guilt and shame of others that was ultimately projected onto others. So projecting them as projecting to them to be, for lack of a better term, like bad. You know what I mean? Like being very judgmental. Yeah, projecting the spirit of judgment onto others based on the insecurities that they already had from a child's place, identifying them and then projecting that energy, all your might toward that thing to, like almost enhance that, like keeping salt in that wound so that it's always gaping open, never really able to heal, so that there's always this energy of repentance among those that were victimized in a sense, or that were preyed upon, I'll say, because everybody wasn't a victim, but many of them were prey of this warlock, whether they knew it or not. But always like being prey to, this energy of feeling like you ain't shit. You know what I mean? And then in this position, him exalting himself as like some what do you call absolver of sins in a sense, or some wisdom of truth, like, well, this is how you do it. And that, him showing the way, but it was showing people the way to hell, ultimately, to their own hell, them creating hell on earth for themselves, because none of this is right, like none of it. And also for the purpose and it came back out, for the purposes of tarnishing gifts within people, using their gifts for his benefit and for the purpose of this plan. So if you know that somebody is particularly a good finesser, you can use that, but distorting it in such a way that it becomes, like, instead of him using that to do something, look at this, truth. Instead of him using it to spread some spirit of truth and, to do good in the world, using it to his ability to finesse and to, communicate, with the King of Swords, like he can kind of like be very clever with words, and very, it's hard. I'm finding it hard to find the words, but he can finesse the truth in a way that almost feels real. Same for the Queen of Swords in her own right. Instead of enhancing that value and pointing it in a direction that's going to be productive, it's being used for destructive purposes, because they've now finessed all these individuals on this tier of corruption, and now all these souls are on their way to hell on earth, if not already there, when it could have been the opposite effect of all these souls now being used to do something productive and uplifting in society, in a powerful way that would be much more lasting and much more fruitful and fertile than what's happening now, because nobody's winning in this now. People are losing their gifts. They're losing the truth of themselves. People are being exposed left and right. This whole situation is going down any day now, if not already. And like I said, like, it's just a loss for the kingdom of goodness, if nothing else. If you don't even believe in God, like, just cultivating a prosperous experience of life, a quality experience of life. Now, all these energies are about to be locked up energetically and spiritually, if nothing else, if not truthfully and actually. And good to whom? No one, not even to themselves, in the position that they're in now. Not to say there is not hope for a turnaround or redemption or whatever the case may be, but ultimately it's a lot, they're lost souls for no reason, because it didn't yield any fruit, none of it, not even for the mastermind. You know, like what does the, I don't even know, like what's the position of this couple now? Like where are they at with all this? What's their realization about what's going on? They're still connected, or at least presenting the illusion of connection for the purposes of working their own underhanded plans. You know, it's like they're kind of stuck together. Like I was saying before with this cup, it's like they don't really want to be doing this, but their cups are so tainted one to another that they almost don't have a choice but to hang in there. And they're so mixed up in whatever this plan and plot was, that, you know, it's like it's ultimately they're stuck. You know what I mean? And what came out in the reading is that they're actually ultimately going to be, you know, betraying each other, if not already. But they're both waiting for some ships to come in, some miracle of sorts. I don't know what the hell they think is happening, or they're waiting for their fate, one or the other. Maybe they don't know which one, or maybe they're still trying to work some plan to, you know, ultimately find, because, you know, you got to consider, before, throughout this cycle of this chaos, there's always been some upside. Even when the chips look like they were down, there's always been some way that they've been able to pull resources together and put their two heads together and put, like I said, resources even in people, and figure out a way out, or figure out some way to, you know, make things come out on in their favor. And that has worked before, but I think where they're betraying themselves is not realizing the sign of the times, that judgment's been called. The signs are all here in every sense of the word, like literally here in the earth, that judgment's been called. And the way that you may have operated before, which worked, which produced results, you know, this is a collaborative effort. This is just waiting for you, the work that you put out, to be returned to you. Like this person is waiting in anticipation for some desirable return or reward. But what are they? And that was the Queen of Cups. What's happening? What's coming? Rejection, you know, and a lack of love, ultimately, as it falls right on. He's rejecting the injustice here. He's rejecting the Ace of Cups as pictured in this in this picture here. It's like you're waiting on some overflow of abundance to return, but all that you're ultimately getting is rejection, one to another, and from the very thing that you think is coming your way. It's not coming. It's not coming. Justice is coming, though. We could just pull that out. That's what you're going to receive, the balance of justice for all these past transgressions, like all the energies that were manipulated. Look, like in this picture right now, yeah, and anxiety, for all you being in constant memory of all the individuals that you in some way, shape, or form took advantage of. It's like it's going to be a constant cycle and replay of all the memories, because that's what it says, I think, in one passage of the Bible, that I think it's about hell in some sense, or I've heard this before, that when you're in that hell state of mind, all you can do is just keep thinking about all the times that you had the opportunity to do something different, or there was an exit or an opportunity for repentance. And that's what that Queen of Cups was, that I didn't really speak on. It's those moments when you had pure love in your life and you rejected it. When you had the opportunity, the Queen of Cups, like the King of Cups, is one of the most loving and emotionally intuitive queens in the deck. She is the love queen. He is supposed to be the love king. But the love king in this sense was manipulating not only his power of love, but others. He was using his love and his access to others' emotional essence to manipulate an outcome for himself. And now it's like you're going to be remembering every single time you had the opportunity to have pure love and a pure exchange of co-creativity and even co-creation. Every time you could have had that, you're going to remember the moments that you rejected it. That's the fate ultimately. But I feel like that's more for him. What's her? Because she seems so much more detached to me. That seems like what he's definitely going to be feeling for sure. Maybe both, I don't know. Or maybe they are going to be stuck in this cycle together until, you know, the cycle is up. You know what I mean? That could be it too, because I think what also came up is that this is definitely a continuation of some past life karmic cycle that they both were given the opportunity to repent from. You know, it's like this isn't their first rodeo. They've both done this energetically before. We've all had a confrontation with our past life cycles. This life was the life that you were confronted with clearing up your past life cycles, just like in this embodiment here, this entity here. This wasn't his first rodeo with feeling dejected as a child. You know, this was revisited, you know, and it was revisited now in this lifetime so that he could be the cure instead of perpetuating that poison and that you know, that abuse onto others, and let alone using it as a position of power. He was supposed to invert that experience, allow himself to heal, and recognize that just as he was whole and complete, and that God was pleased with who he was. And the way to pay that forward was to encourage others by way of their gifts, to be the true emperor and the most upright, to be protective and to create safe spaces for people to expand and explore and express themselves. Instead, he did the very opposite. He hampered expression of gifts, manipulated them, monopolized them, used them for his power, and hampered them even because knowing that the energy that he was expelling and incorporating people in, what's the right word I'm trying to say? Incriminating people in was going to keep them from reaching their highest potential. And I don't know what joy, you know, why he settled for that joy over the reality being that he clearly is a powerful force that could have done so much more good and greatness than he could have done grimy and grungy. You know, but that was the challenge for us all. I think, you know, when we were faced with our dark shadows, it was like you could do this or you could do that. And sometimes that was harder because it meant you had to face society as an individual and, you know, often exist on the fringe and on the fray of society in ways that is uncomfortable in our carnal beings, but operating in your dark nature and then finding others who are, you know, misery loving that company, finding others that were intrigued and captivated by that darkness was far more satanically satisfying than it was spiritually or saintly satisfying. You know, you could operate there and not have to, y'all all doing dirt. So it's like we all belong here. But when you have to step into the light and say, this is who I am, or these are my hurts, these are my pains, these are, you know, the things that I struggle with, it's much harder to say that than and to be that honestly than it is to just, you know, be behind the scenes doing things that it's just crazy, man. And then on top of that, as the devil does, he tricks you, you know, because you're actually benefiting from it. You know, as long as you're being of value to that plot and that plan diabolically to continue to spread this cancer is ultimately what it is. It's just a diffusion, a spread, what do they call it? Mestatic, mestatic. I don't know what you call that when cancer. I don't know. I don't know all the terms of cancer, but when it's just spread like beyond control, you know what I mean? When it's just everywhere, you know, that was somehow more satisfying and gratifying than being the cure. You know, and what I was saying is like that demonic spirit is so tricky because it was offering a reward, you know. It was like it was gratifying, you know what I mean, if not just to the senses and to that ego and to your pride, literally to the pockets eventually. Because I think what these two really did is they took it to a new level. It's like he had the keys, you know, the foundation, the blueprint, but these two in their greed took it to a whole nother level on how to actually monetize off of this madness, so that it wasn't just imposing death among others, literally spreading cancer and death around by their loins, by their lifestyles, the lie of their lifestyles. They were ultimately begin to even like monetize either off the deaths and demise of others, which can happen in many ways. But I know for a fact that I've said it before, that there were even like practical ways that people were monetizing off of life and death of others, i.e. insurance policies, i.e. fraud, like literally assuming someone's identity and completely annihilating it, doing diabolical things. Like I think I might post my video that I when I first had my like spiritual awakening that was very jolting. You know, it almost looked like a breakdown to some when it first happened, and this was like 2 years ago now. And I'm telling you that video is aged now like fine wine, because a lot of this stuff is being revealed, not just in my personal life, but generally in the collective lives of those that are, you know, of divine devotion. And then even universally, as we're seeing exposures of plots and plans every single day. And a lot of stuff has been happening by, like I said, and by collaborative forces looking to monetize off of other people's pain and their off of their poverty and off of their downfall. Stuff happened during PPP loans, happened during the pandemic, insurance fraud, and identity fraud, and what's the other one? Unemployment fraud. Like all natures of fraud were happening to the detriment and at the cost of others that had no idea they were being defrauded. And some people might not actually be dead or have died or were even in danger of being physically harmed. But if you can assassinate somebody's character unbeknownst to them, you can destroy their whole livelihood and they not even know where they're going wrong. In my case, I had people like bad mouthing me behind my back, talking about my business, my personal life, what I am, what I do for money, what I don't do, you know, how I raise my child, you know, the activity of intimacy I'm having or not having, and all types of stuff. Even this very nature here, like projecting it as some evil intention that I was expelling, or evil energy that I was expelling out to others or about others just by way of reading the cards. Like all of that energy can assassinate someone, first of all, that's none the wiser, because if I wasn't as intuitive as I was, thank God, I would be none the wiser. And in a lot of ways, what has worked for people is that there haven't been a lot of receipts. But oh baby, it's Leo season just around the bend. Like literally, today's the 22nd officially. I'm sure it's probably about 12 a.m. if not later now. But I think the sun officially goes into Leo on Sunday, tomorrow Saturday, or today Saturday. but we're in there. And I think that that's why this is coming out so like clearly, you know what I mean? Because Leo season is the light of the sun, and a lot of stuff was dug up internally and psychologically and psychically through Cancer. But Leo season is going to be put on center stage, spotlight on, you know what I mean? So that nobody can hide from how they have acted, literally being the main characters in their own, what do you call it? What's Shakespeare called? Like a tragic comedies, or whatever you call those types of stories, in their own tragedies. You know, nobody is absolved from the responsibility for the role that they played. You know, take a bow. Night is over, this masquerade is getting older. Lights are low, the curtains down. There's no one here. No one here but you. Ciao. Or I guess I should say everybody's here at this point. Here we go. Yep. Take a motherfucking bow. Why don't you? Take a bow, because this is angelic forces that are balancing out the imbalance now. And there's nothing that anybody can do but watch. You know, but watch and wait for their ships to come in one way or another, and pray to God that your prayers have been heard if you truly have been in the upright about repenting or just changing your perspective of what you've done, or being apologetic for the ways that you may have misstepped. There's room for that, and we all, you know, but for the grace of God, there go I. Nobody's perfect, obviously, which is why grace is a thing in the first place, which is why mercy is a thing, you know, but we all had the responsibility to choose our highest self for our highest good. No one was set to benefit more than us from choosing our highest self, you know, and no one was set to lose more than us by not choosing to be balanced in the earth, to do productive things. And it's like we were given the opportunities, we were given even the angelic assistance. Everybody has some manner of way showers, angels, guides, access to higher source, access to your inner self. But some people did not listen. Some people didn't listen. And for these individuals that were unaware and unassuming and just, you know, blindsided, that's what this angel force is here for. It's like, no, like this isn't going to work. This God said it's not going to work for God anymore. It's a no-go. And all people can do is watch the balance occur and pray that they can withstand the aftermath, because that angel looks peaceful and calm, and this one looks sweet, but angels ain't sweet. They about business. And you better hope you're on the right side of the balancing act, because it might not be pleasant. Yeah, it's time for true abundance. And I'm also saying that, you know, this is the presence of family energetic force that was also evident, you know, throughout this energy, that in some ways, you know, family has not been family. You know, in this sense, it's like both ends of the spectrum, because all this angel is here to balance out that family, so that what I'm hearing is like soul groups, like family that may not necessarily be blood can come together, you know, in a content way and in a creative way, finally, that the commencement of divine unions can finally take place from that lover's card that was under the deck last. Yeah, and move forward creatively, you know, holistically, you know, not being enslaved by the overseers and society anymore, even in the galaxy, to keep us from actually living in this happily ever, this like wish fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment space that's been promised with this rainbow from universal order. You know, this is what's been ordained under the judgment card, under the temperance card. Like, this is what's been ordained to, but in its pure form. So those that didn't appreciate the opportunities of pure co-creation and procreation don't have those cups to nourish them at this time, and they'll have to watch while others take part in this collaborative and co-creative consciousness, while they're kind of on the outside looking in. And that's, you know, that's a terrible place to be, you know, on the outside of heaven's gates. And this is all internal for us here, because it's not about like literally pearly gates somewhere in the clouds. It's about the experience of life that you've created for yourself in this time, on this timeline, in this dimension, in this realm. What does that get to look like? Is it balanced and heavenly and pure and sacred and sound and peaceful and, you know, happy? Or is it depressing? And it's all been on account of the choices that we made, how you get to move forward. I'm gonna just take that out, like how you get to move forward. And this is also that Asian energy that came up, and that was led the way, actually, as a matter of fact. It was the Chariot card that was actually on the bottom of the deck when I first started shuffling. And I was like, well, I don't know if it has anything to do with the reading. Oh, it absolutely does. It absolutely does, because these are the enforcers that are bringing back the order. You know, and some of them have been corrupt themselves, make no mistake about it, but this is also the balancing act of the spirit, that they shall also reap what they have sown, and will find themselves on the right side of justice, one way or another. But these are the enforcers of truth that are here to progress spiritual evolution forward by way of divine ordinance, like helping to arrest, literally and figuratively, these diabolical conspiracies, and finally put them to rest, so that people can be free to live the life that, you know, that they're supposed to live, just organically, you know, not trying to take anything away from anybody, but living in their own freedom, their own particular brand of freedom. That's what's been ordained by the universe, that what you sow is what you reap. So how dare you monopolize on people that are willing to sow peace and love and happiness and joy and prosperity amidst all that they've endured and overcome, still having the mind and the will to sow in that way, and you being in such a space, a dark place, that not only will you obstruct that, but then you'll also monopolize on it, manipulate it, and extort that. Like, how did you think that that was going to work out for you? How did you think that the universe was not going to balance that and justify it? It just doesn't even make any sense. Like, if that's the world that you want to live in, then you create that on your own time and in your own space, and leave people to live the way that they choose. Like, if you want to live in a life of misery, then by God, do so. You have that right, just like we all do. And now you're going to get to live that righteously. Yeah, because here's the wheel of karma. And that's that on that. Exactly what you've been sowing is what you are going to reap. No doubt about it. Hands down, no doubt about it. You know, and it goes both ways, obviously, because it's not just in a negative sense, but this is the justice of the universe. This is the evolution for all, that you had your trial run. You made your choice. You planted your flag, your staff, you know, certainly, you know what I mean? Like, you have established your purpose in life, or your perspective in life. And now it's only that the universe is saying, okay, I hear you loud and clear. Here you go, giving you exactly what you ordered. And this Queen of Cups keeps coming up. What's she coming up for? Empress. Queen of Cups can also be a mother figure, which there's some questionability about a lot of mother figures out here. And you know, it's hard for me, yeah, truth, here we go. It's hard for me to really, it's hard it's easy to identify the masculine error because I know the come from. It's been hard to really identify and justify the feminine error, even in some mothers that have been, you know, mismanaging their life force and their love force, as that Queen of Cups holds, you know, the ultimate love force, because they've been so tainted by the masculine energy, which was the plan all along, that they're again operating out of that energy, out of that force, out of that, I keep wanting to say metastasize cancer, you know what I mean? Like they've been operating out that and then producing it in their children, even unbeknownst to them at times, and then their children's are legacy is continuing in that regard. And it's so sad because I don't believe that naturally even the mothers that have faltered would have chosen to do so without duress. You know, a lot of these women have been so, you know, this Seven of Cups energy, they've been so confused in their love energy, and their love vibrations have been so distorted and steeped in bullshit ultimately, that, like I said, they haven't even realized what they're producing from. And some absolutely have. Now, let's not forget, we got the Queen of Swords on the board, who is very intelligent, very capable of discerning, and very logical and aware, but also being a nature of someone that is emotionally detached. And I think a lot of women have been detached from their natural emotional intelligence because of that cycle that I talked about, where there became a fear of even trusting yourself anymore. You don't even know if you're trustworthy because of what you keep attracting and what your external experience is expressing to you. So you lose faith and trust in yourself, and you start to lend that you start to like outsource that trust in others, i.e. in masculine energy, who obviously has been unstable in his ways as well. So like I said, it's just like, you know, and it's ridiculous. It's just a vicious, toxic cycle that ends now. Time's up for it. And moms out there, it's not too late for you to repent. Yeah, look, and it came out again. And look, we got the King of Wands, Queen of Wands. Yeah, mom here, blind to her own power, not really seeing how she could even escape this energetic force that a lot of times she was kind of like roped into by way of familial experiences. That's what this is giving me here. This is generational wealth ultimately passed down. But in the case that we're talking about, it's her being blind to her true wealth and the value of what she's passing down or lack thereof, but also being blind in the same breath, being blind to the how do I say it, like how important her seeds, which have been distorted in some senses, have been contributing to this cycle. You know what I mean? It's like she don't even realize how much she has perpetuated this poison, because it's just become a way of life. It's just how we live, you know? And we got the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands here, and I'm getting from them, these are two highly powerful energies that, look, they're not even facing each other. This speaks to the corruption of divine partnerships and unions, you know, that haven't been able to fully connect and align. This is like a true power couple, you know, in essence, because they wands represent power and creativity and force and things like that. And they haven't even been able to truly align purely in the spirit of truth here, because of the distortion that's been perpetuated throughout this cycle, which was also part of the diabolical plan to keep unions from that were pure and of divine essence from coming into alignment. Look, there are descendants of these energies here, these entities here. And I always see these as like multi-dimensional creatures of some sort that have been lorded over in some diabolical way in the adverse energy of that card. But it's like I said, there's that, but this is now like good cop, coming into doing that sweep, and restoring justice in the land for these individuals to be back in alignment and back on one accord, in alignment with the truth of themselves first and foremost, and with the truth of the power of their union to create true generational wealth in the land. You know what I mean? Like to really bring this here is the justice. I mean, not the justice, the karma in the most high vibrational sense, and the justice, of course, that once these two are in alignment, that seed begins to multiply. And if you keep co-creating and procreating good seeds, truth, high value, pure love, pure passion, protection for one another and for the environment, for society, for life in general, like people that are operating in the highest vibration of their creativity and on one accord, that's a straight beeline to generational wealth in the purest sense, and evolution of the masses and of the spirit, the human spirit that is truly prosperous, that is what's ordained in the land in the most organic sense for us to evolve in our conception of ourselves and our spiritual nature and our ethereal nature, and our earthly natures to come into alignment on one accord, kind of like in this picture here, for us to no longer be bound to our power and our purpose in the earth to breed bliss, ultimately. That's how I see it. That was all being obstructed here. Why? Because this individual wasn't experiencing bliss, so misery loves company. If he wasn't experiencing it, nobody was experiencing it. If he wasn't able to express himself as a child, nobody gets to express themselves as a child. He was probably a child star and didn't feel like he got the opportunity that he deserved, and then became fearful of his own self, because that's ultimately what this energy is. It's the fear of your own truth and fear of it being projected in a way that you would be rejected. So you begin to reject everything and everybody else, and then project that spirit of rejection on the others so that they begin to reject themselves and not accept the truth of their value. And then they begin to project that cancer onto others so that they don't see the truth in their value, and they diminish others in their power under their authority, so that they only see their value as it is connected to them, and so on and so forth. And then that group, that coven, that conglomerate, that organization of whatever matter it is, masculine and feminine energy or one of the like, begins to find its value within its confines of darkness and chaos, and ultimately becoming confusion, because it feels safe there amongst others that it can identify with, as opposed to being projected into the light of the world, where it will what? Then be rejected. Ultimately, everybody being afraid of them damn selves. That's what it all comes down to, because the diabolical source of influence has projected that no one is worthy, no one has value, and that's the furthest thing from the truth that anyone could have ever absorbed about themselves or about anything else. It's crazy, yo. It's crazy. personally, generally, universally. It's crazy. Let me just get one more and I'm out of here. I just implore you to see the truth of yourself, like love yourself today. That's what Cancer season really kind of taught us. Yeah, moving from these turbulent waters into peaceful shores, and you color that existence. You create that future by your present choices. How your future gets to be is based on the decisions that you're making now. And I really just implore you to love yourself. Cancer season really was about us embracing, especially this new moon. There was a quote that I read that I don't quite remember all of it now, but one aspect of it was about shaking hands with your shadow, embracing the natures of yourself. And that doesn't mean that you being a demon, you know. It means that there are aspects of you that don't look like everyone else, and that's for good reason, because no one is like anyone else. We all have a unique purpose and path here that we're walking in our own timeline. So if you're looking around to see who compares to you, you will always pale in that comparison and in that reflection to others, especially in a society that projects that we should all assimilate as sheep and look alike. So I implore you to really see the value in your uniqueness, even as it is a part of the collective, your individuality as it's a part of the collective sphere. You know, yes, we all definitely affect one another, but it's our individuality that makes the biggest impact and impression. And you have to embrace it, even if it's something that looks a little quirky, looks a little funny. If it's not adding value to your life, take that up with your highest spirit. You know, surrender it to the highest source that you submit to, and get to the why. You know, as in this character here and these characters here, like what is it about that makes you feel ashamed or fearful to express it? What makes you feel rejected? What reality of you makes you feel rejected or dejected from being comfortable with who you are, being secure and confident, no less, in who you are? Really, there's a reason for that emotional intelligence. There are those signs and signals of discomfort and dis-ease before it spreads like wildfire for stage cancer in your body. Have a confrontation and a conversation in spirit and in truth about what that is telling you about yourself. It may be that you're absorbing a projection of someone else's opinion and judgment over your life more than it is coming from a divine space. You gotta like bypass, you gotta ask for the supervisor, okay? When it comes to customer service on your soul. You can't be asking friends and family where you fare in the divine and with the divine. You gotta go to yourself, their highest source that you can submit to in the deepest depths of your soul, to get the answers as to why you are feeling why you are rejecting your natural self. And yes, there may be some things that have come along throughout your life experience that don't add value to you and that do get to be released, but not without understanding and understanding and overstanding of why they existed in the first place. You get to know the whys of your life before you just assume that you should be judged, or, you know, that you don't deserve, you know, to be expressively who you are in the light of the sun, you know, not in by the light of the moon, where you know, shadows are distorted and figures are distorted. You should be able to be proud with who you are. And this Leo light is going to unveil every aspect of you. And if there's something that comes up that makes you feel insecure or shameful, no doubt, or guilty, then really confront that identity in the spirit, or that aspect of your identity, and be honest with yourself as to whether or not it's something that is just unique to who you are, and look for the evidence of how it's contributed to your creativity in a productive sense, in a prosperous sense. If it hasn't, then ask for the revelation of the root of that thing so that you can pull it up by the root, never for it to grow again, so that you can radiate that shit, never for that cancer, to be in full remission, if you will, so that you can be, have a clean bill of health, and be acceptant, is that the word? Yeah, of all of your aspects, flaws and all, as Beyonce says. Ain't that Beyonce? Yeah. All right. Did I say one more? Did I get one more? No, I don't think I did, because I started talking. This video is probably going to be long, but I hope that people tune in. And here we go, back at the last card. And yeah, we're done. And this is it right here. This is the truth right here. You living in the light of who you've been called and divine to be, for the purposes of creating a home space that is secure and sound. Not even just a home, but creating your world where you feel safe and secure and sound, with the intentions of your actions. That the intentions of your actions are what has built you this firm foundation. These are two people, this is beautiful. These are two people that have found their way together in co-creation and union and devotion and commitment from some, challenging and probably tumultuous journey, where they both had to come to terms with who they truly are individually in order to be attractive to who they desire to co-create with and procreate with collectively, and then to actually have the courage to do so in a way that is fortified in the earth and then productive in the earth. So yeah, you do the work, you get yourself together, you find love for yourself, you find balance within yourself, you appreciate the uniqueness of who you are, you release the aspects of you that are like 10 of Swords energy, burdens that are just not meant for you to carry anymore, burdens that were projected onto you. Some of us have been told by religion, by culture, by society, by, every reflection in our lives that we weren't good enough, that there was something left to be desired in our character. There was more we needed to do to prove ourselves worthy of life, let alone a blissful life. And that hurdle to surmount was a great feat in itself, just knowing that there's nothing that you need to do, but more all that you get to be, to project yourself worthy in society and project yourself worthy in the spirit beyond society. That's the first checkpoint above all. And this is the illustration of that journey, the victory on that path. Two people that took the path courageously, finished all the tests and trials along the way, and are here at the finish line with their arms raised in victory. This is that illustration right here, that are here to see the wheel turn in their favor and for karma and dharma to be on their side on account of the choices that they made along that path to stay in high integrity, to love themselves and love others, to be graceful, to be kind no matter what, to see the value of their experiences as life force and fuel, and to take the lessons and leave the losses ultimately. That's the energy that gets to procreate divinely now. Like everything else is dead seed. Like it's abort mission, it's aborted fetus, aborted seed, it's not even, it won't even make it to full term, or it's stillborn, if that, or born with hella defects. No disrespect to anybody, but that's the energy that persists from these diabolical unions that really shouldn't even be together in the first place, because they need to figure themselves out before they can be in co-creation with anyone or anything. But this is the justice properly placed of those that have seen their tests and trials to the bitter end. They've walked the path, They've walked it proudly, you know, come what may. They stayed in high vibration and integrity with their eyes on the prize of just being whole and healed and complete in who they are, you know, to know that they are worthy of all that the divine has for them, and that whatever that is enough, that it wasn't about what anybody else had. It was about what was ordained for them individually and collectively, ultimately. And then that's the Lover's card, which is what was always meant for you. This was always written. This was the destiny of divine beings that were willing to be so, to come together. It was always a matter of choice. Everyone had the choice. Everyone was given the opportunity to live a life of love, light, and luxury in the earth. That's what this card represents. To live in the highest vibration of love, in the highest frequency of light, and in the greatest capacity of luxury, you know, according to what your happily ever after is. Yours, not anybody else's, yours. So please, I hope that people really watch this message and feel the vibration of the spirit really wanted to pour into you, to just stay in the truth and the honor of you. Celebrate who you are uniquely, and hold your ground and maintain your ground and boundaries of that perspective, and against any life force that would want to project any lie or illusion against it, or let alone to block it or obstruct it or corrupt it in any way, especially for any immediate gratification of material gain or wealth. There's nothing in this world worth your soul and your spirit alive and well, your spirit being the individual aspect of your soul, which is of source, that the essence of source, that God essence of you in the earth in sensational material form. What value can match that? What coin can match that? What clout can compare? There's nothing worth it. So get in the alignment of what truly brings you joy, that, like I said, love, light, and luxury. And luxury doesn't necessarily mean just material things, although it does lead to that. But when you're choosing love and light first and foremost, you're choosing the integrity of yourself as divined by the most supreme source that you submit to, that aspect of you that you would want to be at your best in the earth. If you could idealize that and then step into that creativity one step at a time, even on a daily basis, that is truly the inheritance of the divine inheritance that you are essentially the beneficiary of in the most blissful way, shape, and form possible. All right, so I've done enough. I hope that this expansion of the reading was valuable to you. And I just pray that you are well wherever you are, and that you are living in the highest and most vibrant light of truth that you can possibly connect to, internally, externally, and eternally. It is so, and so it is. Until next time, peace.